we are going ahead with a quick redo of the stage for the next session. This is panel discussion 3 on trade and market development. But before we embark on the discussion, we have the pleasure of requesting, we have a very special guest here in our midst today, Mr. John Mulungoti, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Zambia. May I request our esteemed guest to please join us on stage and kindly share his keynote address. As you can see, the Zambian delegation is present here in quite a strength. So once again, a very, very warm welcome. Please welcome Mr. Mulungoti for a keynote session.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm John Mulungoti, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture from Zambia, and would want to share with you one or two issues about Zambia. As you know, Zambia is a country in southern Central Africa with a population of about 20 million people. The climate in Zambia is very conducive for investment and also for agriculture. And Zambia has been a all-weather friend of India. And myself and my delegation, we are here to share with you some of the things we are doing in Zambia and also to see how we can partner with the Indian business community, because we want you to come to Zambia and join us as individual farmers or individual businesses, or indeed as joint venture partners. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but basically I'll just talk to you about Zambia's investment climate. Zambia, we have about 46 million hectares of land, which is arable. And that at the moment, only about 14–15% is under crop cultivation. And that's about 6–7 million hectares of land. So in order to expand our agriculture, we have come up with a number of interventions. One of them is a program which we call the Farm Block Program. Under the Farm Block Program, we have set aside 1 million hectares of land. We have 10 provinces, and we have set up about 100,000 hectares in each of the 10 provinces, which gives us 1 million hectares of land. If you decide to come to Zambia, you have two choices as a farmer. You have two choices. One, to go in the farm block as yourself, or to come and partner with any existing farming community in Zambia as joint venture. Within my delegation, we have the Zambia National Service, which has portions and pieces of land, and they're also looking for partners, strategic partners like yourselves. Secondly, to motivate your investment in agriculture, not only in the farm blocks, we are providing a number of incentives. These incentives range from duty waiver on capital items like equipment and machinery, accelerated depreciation on capital, and also facilitation on issues to do with work permits for technical expertise. We also provide incentives like I talked about earlier. If you want to set up in the farm block, or you want to set up in the rural area of Zambia, or indeed in an economic zone for value addition, which is processing. So Zambia is open for business, and out of the 20 million, 70% of the population is still youthful. They are young people. So we have people who are trainable. And when you consider our location, the location provides a key market, one, for the region. We're a member of SADC, and SADC is Southern Africa Development Community, and we're a member of COMESA, the Common Market for Eastern and Africa Community, and we are also a member of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Zambia, of course, is a member of the WTO. So if you set up your location, your facility in Zambia, you will access the markets within Zambia, in the region, and beyond. So we are here. We'll be here today and tomorrow to see and talk to you. For those who would want to come to Zambia as individual firms, or those who would want to come to Zambia as partners. You can also come to Zambia as suppliers of services and equipment, including skills development. I thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your views and also for the very kind invitation. I'm sure many people will be looking forward to visiting Zambia. It's such a beautiful country. May I take the pleasure of requesting the esteemed panelists, the rest of them, to please join us on stage. Please join me in welcoming, although he's joining us virtually, Mr. Armand Petit. He is Executive Director, International Grains Council. He's joining us virtually, so a very warm welcome to you. We already have with us Mr. John Mulgoty, and we warmly welcome Dr. Azam Pasha, CEO, 𝐒𝐞𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐨𝐬𝐷. And of course, a very warm welcome to Mr. Deepak Parekh, convener, GGPC. And also joining us virtually in this session will be a very warm welcome to Mr. Tarun Sridhar. He'll be joining us virtually. He is Director General ICFA and also former Secretary to Government of India, Animal Husbandry, Dairy and Fisheries. So with that, I hand it over to the esteemed moderator.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Pleasure to be again on stage. So it is a very important topic, and Mr. Petit, thanks a lot joining us all the way from Europe. And so we start with you, your overall outlook on the presentation you wanted to make on trade and market development, sir. Floor to you, sir.
Much again for the opportunity to be with you today and to have a great discussion about grains market development. I will share the screen for a very short presentation. The sharing screen is off, but I will start the presentation anyway. I think what we can look about the marketing year 24-25 is, first of all, if we look about the total grain, we have a good supply. If you look all the major grains, indeed in wheat, even in maize, we had a slow decrease of production, but indeed on all other grains, we have a good supply, which may explain today a bit the situation why the wheat market price is back now to the 4 years low prices level. So that's, I would say, the first point, a good level of production. The second point I would like to highlight in terms of market development is also the fact that the stocks or total grain is moving down. We see the total grains on wheat, but also on maize, the global world stocks are going down, but mainly into other producers. For the major exporters, if we look at the stocks of wheat, it is stable. So that's something also to look at in terms of market conditions. We feel that the trade operators have still good confidence they have access to enough wheat and other grains to trade in 24-25. So this is why also I would say we are seeing the volatility of wheat going down. Now, if we look about other commodities, and you have seen particularly on rice, we have seen a decrease on the price of rice thanks to the several decisions by the Indian government to remove export ban on non-basmati white rice. But also in October, when the white rice was totally removed and export duties on parboiled was also removed. And it has definitively had a strong impact on the price. And I would say good supply plus less export restrictions had a direct impact on the world market. That's the second point we need to bear in mind in terms of market development. If we look about consumption now for 24-25, in terms of what two things I would like to really highlight is, first of all, on wheat, there is a decrease of wheat consumption, particularly on the food side. And we have seen an increased competition between rice and food. And particularly for sub-Saharan African countries, we really see an increased trend in terms of consumption of rice in sub-Saharan Africa, and we are forecasting an increased import of rice towards Africa. So that's the first point for wheat. The second point also in terms of consumption for wheat is there is this shift from wheat for feed to maize. Did you know that maize is a compound feed which is mainly privileged by the livestock sector, particularly in the poultry sector? So we have seen now the reverse. So we see a clear decrease of wheat toward feed to the profit of maize. So that means, in one word, if we would like to look in the future, we have to look now about maize market. Maize is back as usual, like the main driver of prices. So what we have to see is the harvest in South America. Now the prospect for harvest in South America can be a factor. Too early to say what will be the real the value of the harvest in South America. And the second thing to look also is about importing from China. If you remember, in the last 2 years, the level of importing from China on maize was above the 20 million tons. We are not necessarily expecting that level for this marketing year. So, but we cannot anticipate. It's always, we might have always some surprise. So the question is now for the maize import, which can create really attention, is also what will be the position of China in terms of import. If it stays at a lower leverage, so we don't see any tension on the market. But if a country like China, which when they buy a lot of quantities, if they come back on the market at the same level as they did during the last 2 years, it can be a totally different environment, I would say, for the market. So that's really something to look at on maize. And the last point, I would say, which may be a link with the previous station, is also the development of industrial use, and meaning ethanol for the use. And what we see in the Americas, also in the US and also in Brazil, is more and more use of maize towards ethanol. And that's really something, a new trend, which is really moving ahead in terms of consumption of maize. In a way, we can explain that about climate change and the country trying to respond to its obligation about reduction of CO2, but also increasing the value added. What we have seen indeed for countries, even for Brazil, transforming maize in ethanol is also improving the value chain locally. That may be one of the main drivers of investment we have seen, particularly in Brazil, is indeed investing in this technology is also improving the value chain for the farmers locally. And if you look at Mato Grosso, it has been very clear about that trend. So for 24-25, we have made an account that around 22 facilities will enter in full production in Brazil. Therefore, there will be more and more demand locally for maize to go through that through that value chain. That's a good news for feed, because I said feed now is more and more back on maize. With the DDGS, that means you will have a lot of DDGS of the market, and for the buyers, that means a lot of opportunities to buy at more competitive price. So that could be a balance, I would say, between the development of industrial use and the impact on the livestock sector, which can be positive in that way. Maybe I will stop here my presentation, and I will be very happy to take questions from the floor. Thank Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Patit. Very insightful. And as we see, like, the crop might drop, but the global trade is currently stable. That's a good news, because I believe, like, the certainty of the trade is more important to make the sector more robust. I would like to go to next to Shri Tarunji. Sir, am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, you are very much audible. Thank you so much.
Perfect, sir. So being the part of the government, the question to you is that while we talk about self-sufficiency, but at the same time, we also have to look at the global trade. And your views on, sir, how India can become more, I'll say that, aggressive in pursuing exports, and which is dovetail back to the productivity. Your initial views, sir, based on your experiences.
Okay, first let me apologize for joining late. I'm in Geneva right now. It was early in the morning and I'd lost track of time. I was involved in other things. And when Ayati called me that people are waiting for you to join, I was in my town and rushing to the bathroom to take a bath. So my profuse apologies to everyone. And second, Deepak, just as disclaimer, I'm not part of the government. I was a part of the government in the distant past. It has been nearly 6 years since I retired, so I would not be able to vouchsafe as to what the thinking in the government is, nor should I, in fact, attempt to speak on behalf of the government. Whatever my limited understanding is that the entire orientation of India and the Indian government and the policymakers towards trade has been rather cautious over a period of time. Especially our relationship with grain has a very, very deep historical perspective. When we gained independence a long time back in the year 1947, we were typically termed as a basket case economy, and we were hugely dependent upon foreign aid and imports of the basic food grains, which has been the staple diet of Indians. So somehow it's over a period of time, although we have now not only gained self-sufficiency in food grains, but we are also now from basket case, we are called the bread basket of the world. Somehow we still have not got out of this, this fixation of having huge buffer stocks and food security and this inherent insecurity about what will happen if we fall short of essential food grains is something we have to get out. And I'm very happy that now there's a paradigm shift in the way we are thinking. And the fact that we have now started supplying food grains to several countries. And recently during this Russia-Ukraine conflict, India has in fact come to the rescue of several countries which were dependent upon imports of grains from Ukraine and Russia. So, well, I would say that while we have attained our rightful position in terms of somewhere near the top in production, as far as capturing global trade and having a reasonable share in the global trade is concerned, we still have a long way to go. But signs are positive. Signs are positive. The fact that we are discussing trade and trade also of grains. We always talk of grains in terms of food security, nothing more than that. And thereafter, our strategy was to have adequate buffer stocks, irrespective of the fact that whether the buffer stocks were being maintained properly, whether they were stored in hygienic positions, whether when you need those stocks, they will be in a position to be actually termed as edible and healthy food grains. But now we started talking in terms of export of food grains, and food grains not only export, also as a geopolitical strategy to exert your influence in the global geopolitics. So this is what the scenario which is emerging, and I'm very happy that this conference of today is talking in terms of trade. And once we start talking in terms of trade and there's a healthy discussion in the public domain, I think the portents for future augur well. Thank you, Deepak. Thank you.
Sir, another question, like, relevant to what you rightly said, that actually now for grains we are discussing trade. But sir, one more point is that we have to also aggressively try to tap into new markets and to promote the trade and open more trade doors. And where actually we have been trying through, like, common free trade agreements. Your views on why agriculture is generally, like, capped at, like, is handled with, I'll say that, kid gloves when it comes to, like, the agriculture commodities.
You see, agriculture, the entire agriculture sector and the dynamics of policy making in agriculture sector are very complex in our country. We don't approach agriculture as a vocation and as a profession of choice. we approach more it in terms of a traditional livelihood and a traditional activity which is passed on from family to family. Secondly, our holdings being very small and the population dependent upon it being very large, there is a huge political dimension to our entire approach towards agriculture. I was just recently seeing a video of one gentleman, Bhushan Tyagi, I think is his name. It was beautifully he said that, well, a farmer takes 1 kg of grain and converts it into 100 kgs of grain, whereas a processor takes 1 kg of grain and converts it into 800 grams of porridge. But the kind of profit he makes is immense, what the farmer makes is nothing. He says farming is going to be only very attractive if you approach it as a profession, as a business, as a commercial activity, rather than as a traditional livelihood activity or rather than just a food producing system. This is what the orientation which we need to change. Once we need to change this, we will not only diversify from grains, we will also start producing grains of immense value-added qualities. You see, trade is possible only if your product is acceptable in the market, if there is a demand for your product. Merely saying we're producing enough grains and we are surplus in grain, so now we'll start exporting, it is not enough. There has to be a market, there have to be buyers who have to accept the quality of grain you are producing. And now I think, you see, again I would say reiterate, and at the cost of endlessly repeating myself, the fact that all of us are sitting today, and I have joined from thousands of miles away, although I'm on a vacation and a holiday, is something that this is a subject which is now seriously engaging our attention. And as I said, India needs to now assert itself and attain its rightful position in terms of global trade, and through global trade also have a greater influence, a positive one, in the world geopolitics.
Perfect.
Thank you, Deepak.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir, for excellent insights. Now, I would like to go to Dr. Azam. Dr. Azam, actually, for any trade to work, there needs to be trust, right? And we have seen that when we talk about agriculture commodity trade, because of the complexity of the value chain, that trust is not getting built. But I think through 𝐒𝐿𝐴, you are trying to do cross-border trading where actually people who might not have seen each other or known each other, they're still able to trade and in a very trusted environment. Your views on actually how do you see such innovative technologies or such solutions furthering more cross-border trades?
Deepak, thank you. I hope everybody is able to listen to me. So at 𝐒𝐿𝐴, what we tried to work around was the fact that the access to markets was very, very difficult for small producers, for cooperatives, especially let's say in India, who would like to directly go and sell into new markets. I'm based out of Middle East. Middle East is one of the biggest markets for grains out of India. Almost 36% of grains which are exported by India go actually into the Middle East. And the next upcoming market is West Africa and East Africa as well. So either of these two markets have got this issue where the small cooperatives or producers were not able to access them directly, and we started looking at the trust deficit which is there. Conventionally, if you see, market building used to happen through, hard infrastructure, elements like logistics and transportation, and probably some kind of soft interventions in terms of policy as well as finance, which used to come from financial institutions, whether public or private. But then there was no element of actually data sharing. Data and technology is something we believe is the future. The grain trading is not going to be the way it happens now. On the physical side, derivatives is a different thing. But on the physical side, if you want to make grain trading more possible and open new markets for India, and not even for India, but for all the developing countries which would like to participate, there has to be a ecosystem, a technology-enabled ecosystem which can share data across to all the stakeholders. Presently, we see data is lying in silos. Logistics providers have their own data. We work with DP World, one of the world's biggest port operating company. They have data about logistics and transportation. We work with banks and NBFCs who have got their own financial data. And then we have all the data about pricing, which Deepak's organization and other companies are providing on grains, as well as traders who own their own data. All this doesn't come together to address issues which are related to risk. And that's why small participants cannot access markets. So with 𝐒𝐿𝐴, we wanted to achieve that. We have built a platform, one of the most innovative technology platforms, allowing small producers to access the Middle East market. We are focused at the UAE at this point of time. We buy the product, we store the product in some of the best warehouses to be able to provide, as Tarun was talking about, food which is edible, food which is stored in good warehouses. We have got one of the best class DP World warehouses in Dubai to store these products, and buyers can come from anywhere in the world and buy those products, see those products, not only on our platform, but also in the warehouses from where they can buy. Along with the price transparency, we provide transparency in terms of prices on our platform. You can go there. If you visit our platform, you can see the prices of physical commodities stored in Dubai at what prices they are selling. And you can directly undertake the transaction on the platform. So that is our work which has been going on the side of extracting data, enabling more analytical abilities through AI engines, which we have built ourselves, which actually analyze data and give an output at a very fast pace so that the financial institutions can come in and the logistics and transportation providers can plug in, as well as our buyers and sellers can come in and actually execute transactions at a faster pace and realize better incomes, which is what our mission statement is. We want to help the exporters anywhere, producers anywhere in the world to access first Middle East markets, and then eventually, the Middle East markets feeds into African markets. We want that to happen as well. So that's from my side.
Perfect. So, Dr. Azam, one more question. You talked about your location is very important, critical location, right? So you talked about so much grains going to Dubai, and typically Dubai is one of the largest re-exporting hub of the world. And that has been built over multiple years. The good infrastructure allows you actually to do what you are doing. In your view, for those countries in global south, including India, we are having such a beautiful, I'll say that, the coast and so many numbers of 8 mega ports we are having. What do you think is the difference between, because you visit India very regularly, what is the difference which actually makes UAE a global re-export hub, and why we cannot export directly to Africa or vice versa? While we are doing that, but not to the level where actually UAE is becoming one more intermediary for me.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, and a very, I would say something which I've been involved in.
You are not in Dubai, so if you want, you can criticize UAE.
Yes, that's what. So I wanted to be a little bit, responsible there when I'm talking about Dubai. I don't represent Dubai, but then being part of, developing infrastructure also in Dubai, as well as, being part of the trade as well as the government policy side. So seen those facets there. But if you try to compare what we have in India and what we have in Dubai, Dubai outlook has been always global. They created the world's most international airlines, Emirates. They didn't start with their own planes. They had to rent planes, and they started with that, creating the world's biggest airlines. They did the same thing with the development of the port. Their idea was to build the biggest port in the world, and they delivered Jebel Ali port, one of the fastest and most efficient ports, I would say. And then when it came to commercial tourism and other things also, they tried to build it that way. One peculiar thing which makes Dubai very distinct, and we did it at a level of policy building, was to compare Dubai with Singapore, Geneva, and other large centers like London and New York. It was found that if Dubai wanted to go there, it had to build those capabilities and benchmark against those things which actually make an ecosystem vibrant. So the most important thing was to bring in the logistics and transportation together, create a big hub for that. Second was to bring finance together. Without financing, none of this trade can happen, even though we would, as traders, would like to say that we want to trade products, but without financing, it can't go anywhere. And the third thing was to build up that environment where all these meetings, conferences, events happen on a continuous basis, as well as that information interchange can happen. Initially, it used to be very physical in nature. Traders still meet in their own niche clubs. Cotton traders, cocoa traders, Olam people are here. They always meet up in the coffee conferences and all. We have got sugar conferences happening. And you will see that most of these conferences have started moving from Geneva or London into Dubai. The idea was at the policy building level, the government wanted to have these events in Dubai, so that all these ecosystem players come together, they network, they share the knowledge, and take it to the next level. India, from that perspective, is a very diverse environment. When it comes to hard infrastructure, logistics, transportation, there's a huge way to go. We have a lot of issues with the cold chain, which is under development. Funding is there. UAE itself and Saudi has come up with infrastructure funding allocations for India that we believe is going to be one of the very important aspects of building the infrastructure along with the government effort which is there, that will play a very key role. The other aspect is to be able to bring in large producers as well as buyers from other countries to come to the Indian subcontinent and to India itself and participate in these kind of events and information exchange which is happening so that actual trade can happen. Most of the events would happen and then we would realize, what is the after event activity which has happened or converted in terms of trade. That is something which we have to see. Dubai has been very, very aggressive about that. All the events which happen have to actually deliver some kind of return in terms of trade, in terms of investment, and that is something which has driven Dubai to where it is now. But in India, we are seeing similar activity happening in Mumbai. GIFT City has come up, which is a center for offshore financing, which will provide a lot of ability for Indian financial institutions to support exporters to go into the international markets. We have got whole platform play technologies which are being developed here to protect the goods as they are exported from here and preserve during the course as they move in the supply chain. There has been a continuous effort by the government to improve quality. We have seen rice, wheat quality significantly improving from India into the Middle East. And that will surely open up markets in Europe. But obviously, we have a bit of way to go there.
Perfect. In fact, I'll just add to your point. I had an opportunity of visiting both DP World's facilities as well as Mundra port, which is Adani-owned port in Gujarat. And you'll be surprised to know that actually I found that the efficiency, the ease of doing business, and even the quality of infrastructure, right, it's pretty comparable. So I believe we are going in that direction and maybe eventually we'll reach there. And India might also become a central re-exporting hub because of the location which we are having. Mr. John, last word to you, sir. We have been talking about market development, and in the previous session also I said, trading within the peers in Africa can be a good opportunity for African countries like Zambia. You are one of the largest producer of copper, and in maize also, you are one of the largest producer when it comes to Africa. So your views that actually how African countries can trade more with each other, while I know there is a SAFTA, the Common Free Trade Agreement, but the implementation of that is a little bit of a challenge. Your views for audience in India to understand, will Africa be able to become one market soon, or is it going to still few years or maybe a decade or a couple of decades away?
Thank you very much. Yes, I believe in the integration. It may take a few years, but one day it will work. Why do I say so? When you look at what Zambia has done in the agricultural space, Zambia today is one of the leading producers and exporters of seed. In Africa, we should be number one, and we are exporting seed from Zambia to the region and many countries in Africa. And also, from last year, we started also producing and exporting seed into Europe. So from what Zambia has demonstrated, it is clear that Africa, the intra-Africa trade is on the rise. And I believe that it will continue rising.
Perfect. In fact, I've been reading a lot about the great work which was done a decade back when a lot of mining companies, they also chipped in to ensure that more corn can be grown in Zambia. So I look forward to I visit Africa at least 4 to 5 times every year. And I always say that actually I love Africa not because I am African, because Africa was born in my heart. So with that parting note, thanks a lot. We had a great panel discussion. Thank you, Mr. Patit and Mr. John, Mr. Azam. And sir, for sure, Sridhar sir, it's always Tarun sir hearing your perspective. Sir, I know you're ex-government. I said that only, I think that was missed. But sir, we always keep reading the great write-ups you keep on doing, and your Facebook posts are really beautiful, sir. Enjoy Switzerland, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thanks to the esteemed moderator. Thanks to all of our esteemed speakers, both online and offline, the ones who are present here as well. And we would like to present a small token of our appreciation. And to do that, may I invite on stage Mr. Arish Hussain. Our deep and sincere thanks to Mr. John Mulungoti. Thank you, sir. And a big thanks to Dr. Azim Pasha. Thank you, Mr. Hussain, for joining us on stage. May I request you all to please join us front and center for a photo op. A big thanks to our esteemed speakers who have joined us virtually, Mr. Arnaud Petit and Mr. Tarun Sridhar. Mr. Sridhar, as you all heard, has joined us all the way from Switzerland. With that, we conclude this discussion, which was all about trade and market development. Once again,